Welcome into the You Think You Know Football YouTube page. I go live daily on TikTok and break down games extensively in college football and the NFL. Unlike what you'll see many other places, I've had so many people tell me I should record these and put them on YouTube. So instead of recording where I'm responding to comments and all of that, I'm going to give you a quick breakdown on all the games. Maybe not all of them. I've got a few extras that I'm going to get into today on Thursday, October the 16th. But all the games I've talked about this week in college football, and there are a ton of them. So we're going to go quick. You're not going to get all the information, but you're going to get some of my information today as we roll through these, okay? Look, Louisville and Miami, this game is Friday night. Do not miss it. It is Friday. Remember what happened the last time a highly ranked ACC team played on Friday night? They lost. That was Florida State at Virginia. Both of these defenses are really, really good. Top 16 in the country. Louisville's is technically better than Miami's in yards per game allowed. A lot of that is because of the schedule, I believe. But when everybody thinks about this Louisville team, they think about Isaac Brown, the running back who is so explosive. Well, Louisville only runs the ball on 41% of its plays. That's 124th in the country. Miami doesn't give up runs. And then Miller Moss has turned the ball over going back to his USC days in 9 of his last 12 games. Miami only allows 57% of opponent passes to be completed. This game is at Miami as the Canes only play one game outside the state of Florida before November. It's going to be interesting to see if Louisville can hang around and if Miller Moss can do enough, because it seems like it's going to come down to Moss against that Miami defense. Guys, I pick all my games on Friday. I don't really consider this a picks page. It's an analyze page. I've worked in the media for a long time, recording this so that you can see the analysis that we do on a daily basis on TikTok at 11 a.m. Central, noon Eastern. Vanderbilt is favored over LSU. They have not beaten LSU since 1990. I threw in the Baton Rouge year. This game's in Nashville just for the heck of it on this graphic. 1951 was the last time that LSU lost to Vandy in Baton Rouge. But again, this game is in Nashville. It's still been 1990 since they won in Nashville. Both of these teams have great run defenses. Garrett Nussmeier has not looked good this year. You can see the difference in his numbers. We know he's not healthy. That's the discussion. Does he have an injury that maybe Brian Kelly is not telling us about? 8 games last year where he threw for 300-plus yards has not happened this year. Hasn't even really gotten that close. 273 is his high. LSU still throws the ball on 56% of its plays. That's the 19th most. LSU can't run it on anybody. They're 112th running. Vandy runs it on everybody. They're 23rd nationally in running the football and yards per game. This is going to be a fun one. Can Vandy actually beat LSU for the first time in 35 years? I've been very high on Georgia Tech this year. I called the Clemson upset before Clemson even played LSU, before we had snapped a ball this year. I like Georgia Tech in that game. Darian Mensah throws the ball deep a lot. That stat is from PFF that you see on the screen. 36 deep balls this year. That's the 7th most in the entire country. Georgia Tech has not been able to stop the run. Duke runs it okay. They're not an amazing running team. But Georgia Tech runs the ball 59% of the time, and Duke, again, is in the top third of the country in stopping the run. I believe Georgia Tech better be careful. I believe this is absolutely a spot where they can lose. The Yellow Jackets are going to be favored in every other game until they play Georgia at the end of the year. This is the schedule where they don't play Virginia. They don't play Louisville. They don't play Florida State, although maybe they wish they did now, where the Noles are. But they also don't play Miami. Georgia Tech's got a dream schedule. Can they get through this game against Duke? Ole Miss and Georgia, this is where College Game Day is. Last year's game was crazy. I did not think a Kirby Smart team could lose like that. 28-10, if you remember, they only gave up 245 yards of offense. Ole Miss is so explosive, even though they did not play great last week against Washington State. 26 plays that went 30-plus yards. They own the SEC's second fastest offense. Georgia, though, does not give up explosive plays. They've only given up 7 30-plus yard plays all year. We assume it's going to be Trinidad Chambliss and not Austin Simmons. Chambliss has been the better quarterback this year in every metric that I have found. We've compared that on my channel and gone a little bit deeper. Georgia's only given up 4 rushing touchdowns, and Ole Miss has 16. Can Ole Miss run it with Kejuan Lacey? Lacey gets the ball a very high percentage of their plays. That's something else we've broken down on my TikTok this year, which is also You Think You Know Football. Texas Tech at Arizona State. Is Sam Leavitt going to be able to play? He had returned to practice this week after missing last week's game. If it's Jeff Sims, I think it's very hard for Arizona State to win this game. But if Sam Leavitt is back, I think you have a chance at home in Tempe against this Texas Tech team that is top 10 in yards per game and yards per game allowed. Texas Tech leads the country in 10-plus yard plays and is given, 10 yards. 10-plus yard plays allowed and has given up just 16 20-plus yard plays. They've not trailed. So go impress your friends. The only team in college football in the NFL that has not trailed this year, Texas Tech. This team has got 21 sacks, which is fifth best in the country. They had 9 last week against Kansas. Texas Tech will get after you on both sides of the football. This is not just an offensive team at this point. Tennessee and Alabama. Look, Alabama has won 3 straight against ranked teams. Ty Simpson has been great. He's put himself right in the Heisman race. I remember Alabama fans after the Florida State loss. They had so many things to say about the offense and DeBoer and Simpson, and now they've come around. This Tennessee team is so explosive on offense. They also have 26 sacks on defense. The only team with more sacks than Tennessee this year is Western Michigan. Alabama only has 9 sacks. That's something we've talked about all year. Alabama has not been able to get to the quarterback. Has not mattered the last 3 weeks. Look at that record Josh Heupel has when Tennessee rushes for 200 yards. 32-2. They've won 26 in a row. Alabama is not great against the run. They give up 157 yards a game on the ground, although Ahmad Hardy from Missouri, who came in as the nation's leading rusher, did not exactly have a great game, only 52 yards. But Alabama's pass defense is one of the best in the country. 3rd fewest passing yards per game. Tennessee averages the 7th most passing yards per game. Can Tennessee run it and take some pressure off of Joey Aguilar? Notre Dame and USC, 2 of the best offenses in the country. Number 2 pass offense from USC, number 19 from Notre Dame. Both teams are outside the top 99. They're 100th and 102nd in passing yards allowed. They're both top 5 in explosive plays, meaning 20-plus yard plays. USC gets after the quarterback a little bit better than Notre Dame. Number 7 in sacks for the Trojans. There's probably going to be a lot of points scored in this one in South Bend. Notre Dame, I think this is their hardest game the rest of the way. I'm not trying to take anything away from the rest of the opponents on the schedule. They still go to Pittsburgh. There's still some challenging games here, but this is probably the toughest game for the Irish as they look to run the table and make the playoff after starting 0-2. Utah and BYU, both teams want to run the football. Top 11 in rushing yards per game. They run the ball 59% of their plays. Both teams at the exact same number. BYU is better against the run than Utah is. They're both top 12 in the number of 10-plus yard rushes, so they're not going to, they're not going to be Ole Miss. They're not going to be Florida State, Texas Tech, where they're hitting you over the top for huge plays, but they're going to gash you in the running game if they get it going. Both of these teams have shown that this year. This is going to be a great game. I know a lot of people want College Game Day to be at this one instead of in Athens. Utah's offensive line has been really, really good. 4th in FBS in sacks allowed, 6th in FBS in tackles for loss. So will be fun to see how they play against that BYU defensive line. Oregon at Rutgers. Can Oregon bounce back after losing to Indiana at home last week? They've given up just 12 plays of 20-plus yards this year. They rank 5th nationally in passing defense, which is interesting when you're going against this Rutgers team that is in the top 10 in passing yards per game. But the problem is Rutgers has not been able to stop anybody this year, including Mark Gronowski in Iowa in the running game a few weeks ago. But Rutgers they're pretty explosive, over 100 plays at 10-plus yards. So this is going to be an interesting one for Oregon. They better pay attention. They're great on defense. This is a game they should win, but Rutgers can score enough to keep games interesting if you don't show up. How will Washington State play now that they challenged Ole Miss? They're 3-3. They're playing this ranked Virginia team. And I've spent a lot of time on Virginia this year. So I kind of just wanted to celebrate Virginia on this for a second. They're obviously averaging 40 points a game. That's 8th most in the country. Washington State's averaging just 22. We've deep dived on Virginia all year. But this team has not been to a bowl game since 2019. They've posted 30 or more points in each of their first 6 games. The only other time that's ever happened was 1947. And It is just insane. That's 136 years of Virginia football. What a great story, man. Can they go to the ACC championship game? Texas and Kentucky, first off, before you yell at me, I know that Texas is on the road this week. I took this stat from the media guide about their home game win streak against unranked opponents, and then realized it afterwards. So I know the game's in Lexington. Cutter Boley is making his second career start against Texas. This is the first team he's seen twice. We'll see if Kentucky is able to get the running game going a little bit and take some pressure off of Boley. So far, we have not seen that. Texas is allowing just 74 rushing yards per game, which is the third best in the country. Texas looked like it got back on track a little bit last week against Oklahoma. We'll see if they can get it or keep it going. Missouri and Auburn. Missouri's not played a road game in 329 days. 329 days since at the snap of the football, which is just insane. Missouri is number 2 in total defense, number 7 in total offense and yardage. They're the only team in the country to rank in the top 7 in both categories. Auburn has had some bad luck, right? If I had told Auburn fans a few weeks ago that they would get to this point of the year playing Baylor as good as their offense is, playing Oklahoma, playing Texas A&M, playing Georgia, and that they would have not given up more than 24 points in any game this year, Auburn fans would have thought they're a top 10 team. And you can call it officiating and all that. The truth is, yeah, there's been some weird calls. Auburn has got to do more on offense. Jackson Arnold and those receivers have got to play better for Auburn to pull the upset here against Missouri. I won't be long on this one. Cincinnati and Oklahoma State. I do believe the Cowboys have played better since the coaching change. But Brendan Sorsby has been the number 1 ranked quarterback in PFF most of this year. They've been unbelievable. They're number 2 in the country in yards per play. They're 5th in the country in yards per carry. They're perfect in the red zone. Cincinnati's a team that not enough people are talking about right now. North Carolina and Cal. We have talked about the Bill Belichick fiasco a lot on my channel. They're 133rd in total offense. They're 80th in rushing yards per game and 113th in passing yards per game. Cal has not been great on offense either, but they've only given up 4 passing touchdowns, the fewest of any team in the ACC, one of the lowest numbers in the country. And North Carolina's got to go East Coast to West Coast for this game. We've seen teams struggle with that this year. Is this the end for Billy Napier in Gainesville? Florida has certainly got talks going that Napier is going to be out on Sunday. We'll see if that is the case. Florida's won 4 straight home games in conference play. They're 8-4 at home versus SEC foes under Napier. According to the Florida media guide this week, Florida ranks among the worst teams in the country in turnover margin, but Mississippi State has already created as many turnovers almost as it did all of last year. Blake Shapen leads the nation in consecutive games with a touchdown pass. It's 21. Nobody has a longer streak than Mississippi State quarterback Blake Shapen. And we'll see if the Bulldogs can run it against this Florida defense. And we'll see if the Swamp is alive in support of this team or whether Florida fans have kind of melted in a little bit, knowing that Billy may be out with all the reports this week. Washington and Michigan. Washington is the 8th best team against the run. Michigan loves to run it, as we know, 218 yards a game. Jonah Coleman's been great. He's number 7 in the country in all-purpose yards. He leads in other categories. Michigan is also really good against the run. So if this comes down to Damon Williams and Bryce Underwood, Underwood's completing just 33% of his passes under pressure. Washington is top 15 in incompletions forced per game and top 20 in yards allowed per completion. So if this comes down to Bryce Underwood having to throw against this Washington team, that'll be interesting. Washington does have to make the long trip to Ann Arbor, so travel could play a role. Arizona and Houston, it feels like these two teams are almost mirror images of each other. They both have really, really good defenses. They allow right at 21 points a game. They're ranked in the mid-50s in total offense. Houston's opponents love to run the football at the Cougars, 41 a game. Arizona runs the ball 34 times a game right now. Let's see if they run it a little bit more in this one against Houston. I actually trust the Arizona offense a little bit more than Houston, but then the game is at Houston. So I believe this is going to be a sneaky good game this weekend. Has Clemson figured it out against SMU? These teams are 7-7 combined since the ACC championship game last year. They're right beside each other in yards per game, 44th and 45th, which is just crazy. SMU ranks 113 in total defense and 134 in pass defense. Kincaid, Klubnik, and this Clemson offense get it rolling against this SMU defense that has left a lot to be desired this year. I believe UNLV could be in trouble against Boise here. They are undefeated. Boise is favored. UNLV continues to rank outside the top 100 in total defense. Boise is 27th best in total offense. That number was a little bit better before the Notre Dame game a few weeks ago. Look, the UNLV has scored 20 points in 28 straight games. That's only behind Memphis around the country. And they've scored 30 in every game this year under Dan Mullen for the first time in program history. I think they're going to need at least 30 to win this one on the Smurf turf. Penn State, with Terry Smith as the interim head coach, you've got your new quarterback in Ethan Grunkmeyer after the injury to Drew Aller. We've talked a lot about what happened with James Franklin this week on my channel. Look, Kirk Ferentz in Iowa, this is a tough place to play. We just saw Indiana go there and have to score at the end to win the game. Kamari Moulton is back at running back. He's run for almost 200 yards in the 3 games since he's come back. I think that helps Iowa, especially with Gronowski at quarterback. He's a really good runner. He's been throwing it better down the stretch. We'll see, is Penn State really going to fall under 500 after being a top 5 team all offseason in everybody's mind and in the first 3 weeks this year? Oklahoma and South Carolina. Do you remember last year? South Carolina pretty much had the same record. Went into Norman, spanked Oklahoma, didn't lose again in a 9-3 year. John Mateer was not great last week against Texas. You have to wonder if he came back too soon. 3 for 10 under pressure. He's 50% going into the game under pressure. But Oklahoma has won 86 games in a row when holding opponents under 21 points. South Carolina is averaging 19 points per game against FBS teams this year, and they have 310 yards of offense per game. That's 121st in the country. They're going against the number 1 defense in the nation. See if South Carolina can get anything going. Maryland and UCLA. I've never seen a season like this from any team. UCLA has just completely turned it around. It's insane. Will they keep it going after beating Penn State and Michigan State? Maryland has the highest turnover margin in the country, plus 10, with 13 forced turnovers. Let's see if Nico Iamaleava and UCLA can keep it going. Maryland off a couple of tough losses to Washington and Nebraska the last few weeks. Can Wisconsin score on Ohio State? You're going to see this stat this week. The last 5 times number 1 went to Camp Randall. They have either been Wisconsin victories where the Badgers won in an upset, or they lost by 10 or less. So all those games were close or upsets. But it's just hard to see this week with the way Wisconsin's offense has been. 127 in total offense this year. Will Indiana have a letdown against Michigan State? A Michigan State team that just got blown out by UCLA. Indiana's top 10 in offense and defense, and in scoring offense and scoring defense. Fernando Mendoza, I believe, has put himself right in the middle of the Heisman race. His completion percentage drops under pressure, but I just don't know if Michigan State has got enough on defense in order to challenge this Indiana team, unless Indiana just is not focused. And from Kurt Cignetti, I would be surprised if that's the case. Florida State and Stanford. This is This is the last game to kick off on Saturday night. Can Florida State bounce back after 3 straight losses? They just gave up 321 passing yards to Pitt's freshman quarterback. So, both of these teams throw for the same number of yards per game. I thought that was crazy. Stanford has a bend but don't break defense. They've allowed the 3rd most trips to the red zone of any team in the country, 30. But they are actually 9th in red zone touchdown percentage, 40%. That's crazy. We'll see if Stanford can take advantage of the long travel from Tallahassee to Palo Alto. And then Nebraska at Minnesota. Minnesota has won 6 of the last 7, but it feels like to me Nebraska is a little underrated this year. Emmett Johnson returning to face the Gophers. He's number 10 nationally in all-purpose yards. This Nebraska defense continues to be number 1 against the pass in the entire country. Drake Lindsey threw for just 94 yards against Ohio State. That was the number 7 pass defense. Best defense in the country, but number 7 pass defense in yards per game. Nebraska's number 1. We'll see how he plays, he's going to have to fare better. And this one, and then finally Texas A&M and Arkansas. And I've got more games that we'll talk about on TikTok, but these are the ones that I have for YouTube today. Texas A&M has allowed Auburn, Mississippi State, and Florida to convert just 2 of 33 third down tries. That is the number 1 third down defense in the country. Arkansas is the 3rd best third down offense in the country. A&M has allowed just 4 touchdowns and a league low 238.3 total yards per game in SEC play. Arkansas is 4th nationally in yards per play. This is great offense against great defense. Should be a really, really good game. We also break down the NFL on my channel. I hope that you'll come hang out with us as we talk football. On TikTok, it's You Think You Know Football. I'm going to start trying to post videos like this here on YouTube. And if you love this kind of content, I hope that you will subscribe. It takes a lot of time and energy, but it's a lot of fun to break down games. And love to hear from you. Comment below. See you around. Have a